Welcome to your first notes for Unit 8. So Unit 8 is going to be all about polynomials, foiling, and factoring. Now today to begin, we're going to start with some basic vocabulary of polynomials. So some words that you're going to hear me reference often throughout this chapter. First, a monomial. So a monomial, all it means is a variable multiplied with its coefficient. So what I'm talking about here is something like 6x is a monomial. It is a variable multiplied by a coefficient. You could have 4y squared. A monomial can also have an exponent on its variable. It could be just a number. You could have 1/2. Or just a variable without a coefficient. So, any one of those things is considered a monomial. Again, meaning a coefficient multiplied with a variable. Now, a polynomial, what does that mean? Well, a polynomial is a collection of monomials separated with a plus or a minus. You've seen things like this before. So, an example of a polynomial, 6x minus 4 is a polynomial. Is a set of monomials is separated with a plus or minus. You could have x squared minus x plus 3. There's another example of a polynomial. Or you could have z cubed plus 4z minus 5. So again, all of those are examples of polynomials. Next term is a degree. The degree is the exponent of a term. All right? So what I mean by that is, if I give you something like this, up back here, that monomial of 6x, well, 6x to the first has a degree of 1. The next one, 4y squared, well, that has a degree of 2. So the degree basically comes from the exponent of the monomial. And standard form, what we're talking about when I say standard form, what we want is the terms written in order of exponent or degree, starting with the largest. So that's what standard form means. If I ask for something in standard form, you're writing the terms in order of the exponent or the degree, starting with the largest. So taking a look at that example, negative x cubed minus 5 plus x plus 3x squared. So what we need to do is identify what is the largest degree. Well, what's the largest exponent that we see? The largest one I see is that negative x cubed. So that's going to be the first term of my polynomial in standard form. Now we need to look for the next largest. Well, after 3 would come 2. So now I see that 3x squared. In standard form, that should come next. All right, after 2 comes 1. So that x really means x to the first. So that should come next. And then finally, the last thing in any polynomial is going to be the constant, the number that's by itself. So the very end is going to be negative 5. All right, so let's continue on with some more vocabulary. So here's some more examples of polynomials. And we're going to talk about naming these polynomials, okay? So the first one is just the number 6. Now this vocabulary term is actually already one that we covered. Now I want to think about the degree. So the degree is talking about the exponent of the variable. Well, if there is no variable, then there is no degree. It would be 0 because the variable isn't even there. So naming it using the degree. This is considered a constant. Or again, it could be a monomial as well, either one of those two terms. Number of terms, well, there's just the 6. So that leaves one term. Name using number of terms, this is a monomial, okay? Just a one term polynomial. Now looking at the next one, 5x plus 9. Now, because of the x there, the degree of that polynomial is going to be 1. When we're talking about degree of the polynomial, you're talking about the largest degree that you see, okay? So the degree of any individual term is its own exponent. The degree of the polynomial is going to be the largest one that you see. Name using the degree. You're very familiar with these. This is going to be linear, something you've seen often before. Now, number of terms. Well, here's one term, and here's another term. So remember, the terms are separated by pluses and minuses. So that means this one has 2 terms. And what we call a 2-term polynomial is a binomial. Bi meaning 2. All right, degree of this one. Well, I see an x squared term in here. So this is going to be squared, or a degree of 2. Now, its name. When you have a degree 2 polynomial, you're talking about a quadratic. Now, in terms of number of terms, now quadratics can have up to 3 terms. This one has 3. So, what do we call that? A trinomial. Tri again meaning 3, like a triangle. Okay, this next one. Well, I see a 3rd power in here, so this is going to be degree 3. Name using that degree. Well, when we get up to the 3rd degree, we're talking about a cubic function, a cubic polynomial. Now, as for the terms, well, now we're back down to only seeing one term, okay? So going back to one term, something you already have written down, it is a monomial. Okay, looking at the next one, the degree of this polynomial. Well, I see something up to the 4th power. So that degree is going to be 4. What do we name it? It is a 4th degree function. Once you get above cubic, they don't necessarily have special names anymore. You just start calling them by their degree. Number of terms, I count 1, 2, 3 terms, which is something you should already know. It is a trinomial. And I apologize if I forgot to show you that one. It was just 1. All right, so let's get some practice in with this vocabulary. So create a polynomial, which meets all of the criteria. So it's a quadratic trinomial. Lead coefficient of 4. The constant is 3. The coefficient of x is 1. All right, so let's take a look at each one of these pieces. So, quadratic. Quadratic means we need a term with an x squared in it. All right, so now trinomial means it needs to have 3 terms. Tri meaning 3. Now, for a quadratic, the only way for that to happen is we have our x squared term, an x term, and then a constant, a number. And we don't know quite what the number is yet, so I'm not going to put anything there. But that's the only way to get 3 terms, your x squared, your x, and your constant. Next, it tells us our lead coefficient is 4. Now, the lead coefficient is going to be that first coefficient. Okay, so that's what that's going to be on the x squared. The lead coefficient is of that first term, the term with the highest degree. So lead coefficient is 4. The constant term is 3. Constant being just the normal number. And now the coefficient of x is 1. So we can put a 1 there. So that's how, following step by step, phrase by phrase, you can actually construct that polynomial. 4x squared plus 1x plus 3. Now, degree can get a little bit more interesting, all right? For the most part of this chapter, what we're going to be talking about is single variable polynomials. Now, when you get into more variables, the degree gets a little bit more interesting, okay? So, what is the degree of each of these monomials? So for A, 5x, we've already talked about that. That x has a secant 1 sitting there, so its degree is just 1. Now, what if there's more than one variable? What if I have a 6x cubed y squared? Well, now, total, the exponents add up to 5. So the degree of this monomial is actually 5. It's the sum of those exponents that you see, okay? Again, won't happen often, but something I do want you to be aware of, that if you have more than one variable, the degree of that term, technically you add those exponents together. And for C, just the number 4. Well, for that, there's really no variable there, so the exponent is going to be 0, representing the fact that there's no variable. All right, so getting back into more standard form practice. So we want to write each of these in standard form, then we want to name it based on the degree and the number of terms. All right, so this first one, x squared plus 4 minus 3x. First thing I'm going to do, identify the largest exponent. So that's going to be my 2. So that term needs to come first. So we're going to have the x squared. Now I need the next highest degree. Well, after 2 would come 1. So that minus 3x needs to come next. And then finally, at the end, I told you the constant, if there is one, will always come last because it doesn't have any power at all, plus 4. Now, if we're going to name this, naming it based on the degree, naming it based on the fact that it has an exponent of 2, you can come back, I apologize, you can come back and look at this chart to help you. So degree 2 was right here. What did we name it? We called it a quadratic. So you can come back and use this table to help you when naming these things. So degree 2 is going to be a quadratic. Then I count 1, 2, 3 terms. 3 terms meant it was a trinomial. And again, all the vocab you will need for this page is going to be in that chart that you already filled out for me. All right, for the next one, highest degree. I see that 7. So I need to take the whole negative 3c to the 7, though. Don't forget to bring the negative with it. All right, the next highest degree, in there I see 3. So 8c cubed and c. So 3 terms, that's going to be a 7th degree polynomial. Remember, when it gets too high, you just name it like that. And again, I see 3 terms, so this one is a trinomial. All right, so what I'd like you to do is please try that last one, putting it in order and naming it. I'm going to have this be the end of my video, so thank you for joining me. We will finish up in class.